Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that was an exciting start to your lunch hour. My name is Angel Johnston. I am an education specialist at the museum, and I'm going to be your host today. Our guests are from Tryon Palace. We're talking with Sharon, Bryant, and Keith McClease, from Tryon Palace, about the unique holiday Jonkonnu. A couple notes about the tech before we get started. We are live streaming on both YouTube and Facebook. So no matter what channel you're on, I hope you will join our conversation by typing your comments and questions in the chat as we go. Please keep in mind that your comments are public, and we may share your name and question at the end later on in the program. Today's program is being recorded, and it will be posted on our channels later, so you can come back and catch anything you missed, or watch it later, or share with your friends and family. Before we get started, I would like to welcome Lauren Wallace. Lauren is the museum's development director, and she would like to tell you a bit about what we've accomplished this year and how you can support our programs.
Hello, thank you so much for tuning in again. I am so excited about this program personally. It's a fascinating holiday and a fascinating commentary on connections across space and time as we think about this holiday season. Now, this is the very brief commercial part of the program today because I really want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who has made these programs possible. I want to thank Ross and Michelle Annable, as well as the Charlotte Women's Club. This has been a really important part of our mission over the last 2 years, is to make programming accessible, and in many ways that's making it free to our community. And we truly and honestly could not have done that without the support of these people who are funding these programs, as well as the support of the people who are watching these, who are volunteering with us, and who are a part of making sure that we're able to fulfill our mission, able to come into your homes, and able to welcome people from throughout our state and throughout the country, quite literally being able to bring the experts to you. So I just wanted to take a brief moment to say thank you so much. We have a lot of things that are coming up in the next year. As you can see on your screen here, we have tons of new exhibits, we have new programs, and we can't do that without your help. So if you're able, and if you're thinking about who you want to support this holiday season, we hope that you will consider making a donation to the museum. Your money makes it possible for us to continue to bring these programs. So if you have any questions about what we're doing and what's coming up in the new year, please follow us on Facebook. Please follow us on Instagram, on Twitter. Check out our website, or you're welcome to send any of us an email. We're always very excited to talk Charlotte history. So thank you so much for letting me interrupt this program for a brief moment to say thank you. And I am so excited to get started here.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. These programs are free, as you said, and they can only be free because people support them. So let's jump in. It is the holiday season. I hope everyone has been able to celebrate their family traditions, their community traditions, or started making new traditions with your friends and family. And it's a good time for us as historians to think about where these traditions come from. And in North Carolina in the early 1800s, enslaved people living near the coast developed a holiday celebration called Jonkonnu. And Sharon and Keith from Tryon Palace are here to talk to us about Jonkonnu, how it developed. Sharon and Keith, would you guys like to introduce yourselves, please?
Hi, my name is Sharon Bryant. I am the African American Outreach Coordinator here at Tryon Palace.
My name is Keith McClease. I'm the head gardener here at Tryon Palace.
And can you tell us a little bit about what you do for the Jonkonnu celebrations?
Okay, well, what I do, I'm one of the drummers that drum in the Jonkonnu celebration. Very exciting event. When I first started, it was unusual. It was something that I didn't even know about. It's one thing about history, knowing that this is a real event, something that really happened. And it was, for me, it was surreal, like, stepping into someone's shoes because of the fact that I played drums as a young child, and I played by ear meaning by feel and rhythm. And when I joined the Jonkonnu, I could feel the energy of that spirit of that time. So
that's amazing. I do have the video from that Tryon Palace has produced, and I do want to show that before we go too far in. Sharon, is there anything you'd like to say about the video or about how you're involved with the Jonkonnu celebration before I do that?
I am the organizer of the Jonkonnu. When the research work was done in 1998, it was already done before I got here. And then I was hired on July 1 of 1999, and I had 2 weeks to pull Jonkonnu together, which I didn't know anything about it. However, we made it happen, and we've been going strong for 20 plus years now.
That's incredible. Awesome. So let me get this video started. We'll do a quick overview and then we will jump into audience questions. A reminder to our audience that if you have questions, please put them in the chat. I'm sure our guests would love to answer and discuss more. So.
Jonkonnu is a Yuletide tradition that appeared in Jamaica and spread through the Caribbean. And when the slaves were brought into Eastern North Carolina, that one day out of the year they were allowed moderately a degree of freedom. And they had this celebration. The characters went from door to door, mocking the master and telling the story and just celebrating.
After my hard day of work from sun up to sundown, how would I react that day that I didn't have to do anything to celebrate? Am I angry? Yes, because of the treatment that I would have endured during that time.
it's really something to think about. There was only a shining light there that had a sense of hope of being able to come together and be one people.
It's not just about getting out in the middle of the street and dancing. It's a history lesson that's been taught.
All right, that's all. Every time you hear Funga Lafia, it's just that.
Okay.
Lafia, I say that. And then the other part is the call and response. Will you say the Funga?
Fungi.
Funga!
Alafia.
Alafia!
Fungi. Alafia.
This is the gumbo box, and this drum is the bass drum that leads the Jonkonnu, and this is the way it sounds. This is what draws a lot of people, the drum sound, and the beats we play, because you can hear it all over the neighborhood.
Being the town crier, I run in and I just be so elated. Jonkonnu is coming! Jonkonnu is coming! Oh, what a time! Jonkonnu is coming! Can't you hear the drums? Can't you hear the drums?
There's all different types of drum beating at the same time. When you hear a drum, that's an amazing sound. It's the sound of freedom.
Hello, somebody.
One of the main characters, the fancy man, and he's representing the master himself. And then the rag man, his costume has tattered rags and it represents his heritage. Every rag, every cloth is part of his ancestry.
And master really don't understand what the songs are all about. And he's patting his feet and he's, maybe rocking along to the song, but actually they're talking about him, but he doesn't know them.
The interesting thing was when they used to take and poke fun at the master, they would go up to the master's front porch and shake his hand. And that was a big thing in itself. People came out just to see that.
I'm the master, and I have a job in the field that needs to be done. And I'm going to give them that day to express themselves, get up some of that anger out. And then at least I know at the end of that season, I'm going to have a good harvest.
Being a part of Jonkonnu is really a special thing. When you become a part of history, that's pretty neat experience.
I think the slaves that participated, I think they had a certain degree of pride. And they looked forward to that one day out of the whole year.
It's a story that is not shackled or in bondage, but one of communication. This was a time of coming together, no more than just for that one day.
You have to actually put yourself in that setting. We're teaching a lesson to anybody, regardless of color. And that's why I enjoy doing Jonkonnu.
Awesome. So I do also want to mention that video is available for you to purchase if you are interested, if you're an educator, if you're a homeschooler, or you have a Sunday school class, you can purchase that from Tryon Palace's gift shop. Their website is just tryonpalace.org. Yes, that's it. And the women who work in the gift shop were so sweet and told me all about this. And so I highly recommend using that as part of your lesson planning if you are an educator. So let's get into it. Sharon and Keith, can you tell us a little bit about how Jonkonnu got started in North Carolina?
Okay. Sure.
Well, Jonkonnu started in New Bern at Tryon Palace again in 1998 when the research work was done. The research was done by Simon Spalding and Dr. Patricia Sanford and others. When employed by Tryon Palace in 1999, I joined the team during that time to help them pull Jonkonnu together. And again, I didn't know anything about it, so I was calling the office and say, well, hey, here's some information. I want you to read it, and I want you to be able to organize it for us. So as time going around, I was given the opportunity to come around the site to see who I can find and who I can pull into Jonkonnu. So therefore, I found Keith, and I pulled Keith in, and I pulled, my friend was a doctor. I had a friend that was a lawyer. I pulled all of them in to make this work because we only had 2 weeks to make this happen. And so therefore, we just got together and we started drumming. We started learning the songs, the costume. We piecemealed them till we got to the point where we can actually get the research work to find out exactly what we needed.
Mm-hmm. And we did hire some people from Africa, drummers that knew the art of drumming, that came in and assist us with the drumming side of things. So it was beginning to become a big thing. I don't know if we did much publicity on it at the time in New Bern, but that's one of our things we do whenever we go into a town or an area. We try to tell the story first. We try to present what it's all about so that people can have a better understanding of what's happening with this because of the tensions or the concepts of people's thoughts. And but we really, invested a lot into that, and that's what makes it so interesting, is because of the fact we did a lot of work to make this happen in the realness of it. And the guys from Africa, when they met me, they said, "Oh man, you got it here." I said, "What you mean?" Because I play by ear. See, just a little sideline. Sharon and I had a chance to go to Ghana and got a chance to be there, and I thought I could play the drums, but it's an art to drumming, and it was a whole different ball game over there in their arena, and but it was fun and exciting. So it was
I'd
different.
love to hear more about those connections that you found in Africa and through your historic research and the research that that y'all have been doing for 20 plus years. The connections, the global connections for the holiday that you found. Can you talk a little bit about those?
So we had a symposium here in 2020, right before the pandemic happened in September. And we brought in a lady from the Bahamas. We brought in people from California, New York City to actually explain what Jonkonnu really mean to everybody because, some people had negative vibes about it. But that workshop symposium was awesome. And everybody now, especially close to the coast, as you say, is more aware of what Jonkonnu was all about. And again, whenever you start something like that, when it has something to do with enslaved, the tradition, there, anything about slave, they want, some people take it for granted or some people take it the wrong way. So we wanted to clarify that in Belize, Jamaica, the Bahamas, those are what you call Boxing Day. Those are the things that they do like for a carnival. Here in Eastern North Carolina, we do it as the only day an enslaved person could have had their free day to do whatever they can do that day, whether it was weddings, celebrating birth, being able to cook and, being there together, death, or anything like that. That is our purpose of doing Jonkonnu.
And how did you decide that that even though there are similar holidays in Jamaica and across the world, that this is how folks celebrated it in New Bern and Wilmington?
Because it was the only day, and it was always around the last holiday of the year. Because of 365 days, most of the enslaved people would have been working in the fields from sun up to sundown. So during Christmas time was the only day that they actually got to celebrate. Because now, remember, they had their harvest. So during that time, our harvest was in, profit was made, and whatever the master at that time decided to give them, that's why they went up to the front door and knocked on the door, because he would give them bearing gift. And that was the only year that, again, if an enslaved person had personal, reason or angry about something like this, was the time for them to celebrate and get all of that out, so that they would be able to bring in that harvest for them.
It was a tradition too that that's gone, way beyond our thoughts of it. Not just a parade, but a way of passing information, a way of getting out certain angers. One of the professors talked about a disarming tool. Disarming tool meaning to put on a smile or show yourself friendly, and yet all the time you still got that hey man, it's inside here, so it was really eye-opening to hear all those different takes on Jonkonnu and what it meant to so many others, and I mean it's great. I mean it's got a lot of deep meaning to it.
Yeah.
That's why I like it.
Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit about them, in the 1800s, enslaved people would go up to the door, the front door of the master of the white man's house and knock on it. Can you talk a little bit more about like what they would have done during the celebration or the parade? Is it a parade?
Sort of like a celebration more. I mean, it was a rumor thing where they would talk about the master, what he did or what he didn't do, had too many babies, or is about to lose his job, some rumor things in the community. And they would pay money to get them to move on, to go somewhere else, to talk about somebody else more so. And
are they talking about this like in English? Like, can the master understand what they're talking about?
Absolutely. Okay. So in one of the songs, it says, somebody's knocking with a great big sound. Hello, somebody, hello. It's the Jonkonnu band from New Bern town. Hello, somebody's hello. And then it says St. Peter knocking on the big house door. Hello, somebody, hello. Guess I ain't ready for the golden shore. One of the other ones, old Master Dixon, he fret and frown. Hello, somebody, hello. First last June, burn his clothes shop down. Hello, somebody, hello. So you're talking about these folks in these songs. And yes, he may not understand what they're saying, because he's on his porch patting his feet because he hears music and or he hears drumming. And most of the time when you hear drumming and music, you're gonna start rocking, you're gonna start moving. And so when he hears that, he's just watching to see what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then like the fact about the front porch, yeah, that was something where it was really a big thing because a lot of people, you know, at that time, that was odd. And usually you would go through the back and then you wouldn't look in the master's face or take anything from him from that point of view, from that area anyway. But it was a time of relaxedness in a sense, and as the way we understand it. And a lot of people came out just to see that. And that's why you would say it was a time where they would have some sense of equalness or of thought, something like that. So it was a big
Almost
thing.
like a role reversal.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
Yeah. What about some of the other elements of Jonkonnu? Before we started, we were talking about the drums. Keith, I'd love to hear more about the kinds of drums that they're using and the significance.
Oh yes. This is we talked about the drum. Now this is one of the key drums here. This is the bigger drum called Gumba, Gumba. It's the one that they would have been drumming with. You can make them big or small, and also they didn't have trees to cut and design, so they just took scrap wood and goat skin and draped over the wood, and you still have the sound of the drum. Yeah. So, and we got different sizes in that type as well. But we have the djembe as well. The djembe is used to give us a volume or give us a true sound, to be able to change certain pitches based on our singing. Because along with our drumming, we sing. You know, and being a drummer playing by ear for myself, everything has to come together. Even the bell, you know, anything that's out of place, it's going to throw everything off place. So everything has to be synchronized, and it's something to hear when you hear drums coming at you at night with the candle lights and the fire baskets, and it's really an experience to come out and see if you ever get a chance to see this.
Yeah, I did see a comment from on YouTube, I think, of someone who says, "Can you come to the Charlotte Museum of History and do the drumming? It sounds really impressive in person." So I think that's the official request for you to come do the drumming in person. How many people would be drumming at one time? Or was there a dedicated, you know, man or woman who was doing the drumming all the time, or would it be, you know, a bunch of people?
Yeah, it's mostly a bunch of people drumming. You know, I'm what you would say a lead drummer, meaning I begin and start the music. I end the music as well with a sound like this. I'll just play it right quick. And everybody knows what that sound is, and it stops all the music. And then we have the singers. The singers come in and they do their part, and we play along with the singers. And it's, like I say, it's something, you know, and we have been to other places and played, and it seems like every time we go, they want us to come back. So that shows how much energy and power it has. But I believe it's something in us all, an event like that was so popular at that time that that when it did disband or break up or come to an end, the young white kids, from what we understand, had begun to try to emulate or do what this Jonkonnu event is. So that shows how hard it is to take away something that is real and deep. And that's why I think that's when I came into it, I felt the way I did, you know, being a drummer and being someone who has a sense of a spiritual take on this. I think also it was more than just a marching event or celebrating event. It had a spiritual take to it as well. Maybe, you know, I could go a little further with it, and as we begin to get into the costumes and how that represents.
I do have some pictures, and so I'd be happy to pull up the pictures.
Yes. Yeah, we can get the ragman costume, if you can pull that up right quick.
Sure.
Okay. Something like this. Yes. As you see, the ragman's costume, where it has many rags, and as she was speaking about, and how each one represents each family member, dead or alive. It represents, and usually in that time in Africa, based on the theory, the ragman did not show his face because of the spirit of the ragman. But here we saw where the face, you could show the face of the man. So that's the difference in our ragman here in America and the ragman that they would have in Jamaica or some other place, because they didn't want to see the man in the suit, but just the spirit or embodiment of the ragman. But it's like I said, it's quite an event, and you can see the bull horns. That's one of our main headdress, and it represents, based on what it represents, is the freedom. Is a spirit in that as well, the freedom, untamedness, and not being tamed, but yet wild in a sense, to go its own way, spiritual as well.
And what about the man standing behind the ragman in the top hat?
Okay, the top hat. Sharon, to talk about the fancy man?
That is the fancy man. He has the top hat, his tuxedo on. He's the leader of the pack. He is the one that will go up and talk to the master, tell him all the troubles that you're going through, and try to get everything that he can from the master. Sharon is about 6 feet tall, and
yeah, he's very tall.
That was during a workshop we was doing with the Boys and Girl Club in the Parks and Recs here in New Bern, where we were teaching the kids about Jonkonnu, and they were actually performing for their parents at the end of the summer when the Jonkonnu workshop was ending.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's great. We have a question from Naya. I hope I'm saying that right. Are there similarities to Mardi Gras with the music and costumes? It looks visually to me, it looks like there would be similarities.
Yes, I'm sure there is some similarities in this, and usually the Mardi Gras usually asks us to come and perform with them. Yes, and we usually wear the costume part of it.
Oh, good.
Yes,
there is some similarity in Mardi Gras because at this workshop again, some people would have covered their face, and so as you can see that the kids have masks on, because that's another part of the thing that we do. We do our workshop where we make masks when we go different places, so you can walk away with a mask. So that's what they do at Mardi Gras. They put on a mask and they throw their beads and stuff, and we do have the colored beads because Jonkonnu is a colorful festival, and so that's how they're going to tie in with the Mardi Gras.
Awesome. So can you, we sort of talked about you guys took a trip to Ghana and you learned drumming from drummers there, and there are some visual similarities to Mardi Gras. Can you talk about like where the other similarities might be, like in the Caribbean, or how does this compare to the the celebration in the Bahamas? Where do those traditions come from?
Okay, so in the Bahamas and Belize and the Caribbean, all of those are more what they call Boxing Day. Boxing Day is their day from the day after Christmas up until January. They're more of a carnival kind of celebration, their tradition that they do. And so they make all these different costumes and drums and events. So they're based on theirs, and who's going to do the best costume, who's going to be the best dancer, who's going to be the best drummers, and different things like that. Because then at the end, they're awarded different things, like maybe a parking space for a whole year. They may get some, monies or something like that for something else that, whatever they got going on then. But it's more of a festival costume for them. Whereas in the eastern part of North Carolina, we celebrate it as the only day an enslaved person could have celebrated. If they worked 364 days out of the year, what did they do that only day they got a chance to do something?
Okay, that is great. I think, one of the things that we learn about is sort of the triangular trade of enslavement and how all of those cultural traditions sort of meshed together. They brought things with them from their ancestors from Africa. Enslaved people were trafficked to the Caribbean, and so they picked up, traditions there, and then they brought them to North Carolina. Can you talk a little bit about the time period when Jonkonnu first started being celebrated in North Carolina, and how you think that happened? Because I know it's sort of this flashpoint of it's only celebrated in North Carolina for like 50 years and then completely disappears. How does that happen?
Okay, so again, the holiday celebration, whose roots came to be tracked back to Jamaica and slave ship from West Africa. Historical records mention celebration of Jonkonnu taking place near Edenton, North Carolina, as early as 1824. And so again, it went down to Wilmington with the Wilmington race riot that was going on. So then it stopped in 50 years because the white people start mimicking what the blacks was doing. And so people were getting offended. So they stopped doing it for a while. Again, for a while, you never heard anything about Jonkonnu. So again, in 1998, I was not here. I don't know how it came about, but they decided that they wanted to do some research on Jonkonnu and compare with the enslaved people coming here too in America, bringing their roots, their tradition, their religion, and all of that with them. You know, what would you have done when you were coming to a foreign place and really didn't know anybody or know what to do anything, and plus you was stole from your homeland and brought over to a country you knew nothing about. And so therefore, that was the things that got them by. So when they came in and brought all their rituals with them, their religion, they were able to practice their religion, so, you know, they were able to do some of the things they need to do and to make it home for them. As they work 24 hours a day, sun up to sundown, were they angry? Absolutely, because they have left their hometown to come to a foreign country that they had never been. But once they got together and started to celebrate and bring in their tradition and eating their cultural food, you know, their religious churches and all that kind of things like that, you know, will make them comfortable. We decided to start doing it here at Tryon Palace, and we've been going strong for 20 plus years.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah,
Keith,
right.
do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, well, like I said, she sort of said everything, you know, about it. It's just the fact being involved with Jonkonnu, you know, from my own personal point of view, has, you know, gave me a sense of, hey, you know, that was really an opportunity there, you know, and you know, to really be yourself or be able to express who you are, being able to connect with your roots from another place in a foreign soil, more so. And so this is really something. And here at the Palace, like I said, when I asked the director at the time, because you know you can't really go ahead with anything unless somebody gives you the okay to do so, because you got to be, you know, watchable of stuff, because it's so much of a hot topic, and it could be.
Yeah.
And I asked the question, I said, what made you want to go ahead with this? Because at the time it was moving along, and she said that it was just time, you know, it's time. And I said, oh, you know, and I, you know, and ever since then it fitted right with time, and we've been going a lot of places with this. I mean, we have headed up in Raleigh, where they have the museum.
North Carolina Museum of History.
Yes.
We have been invited to come in and bring the crowd in and do a little performance with that. We have traveled to Washington, D.C. We have been to Virginia. We've been all up and down North Carolina. We have been to Charlotte. We'd love to come back.
We would love to have you.
The Imaginon, we traveled there because the Solon had did a conference there, and we were able to come there and showcase Jonkonnu there. And you know, we are recruiting. We do look for a rag man. We're looking for a town crier, a fancy man that you saw in the pictures. Our event starts this Saturday from December 11th from 6 to 8. It's free on the street if you want us to come in here and see Jonkonnu. If you want to see the palace, you have to purchase a ticket. You can go online and find out more about us.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to make the drive out 40, I highly recommend that. The drumming and the parade aspect seem very powerful experiences to be there while that's happening. We got another question from Lauren, my colleague at the museum, about she noticed similarities between the costuming and dancing of West African traditions, especially the masks. How did the celebrations in North Carolina build on this? What kind of connections did you guys learn about when you went to Ghana to learn about the drumming? Were there any other connections that you learned about?
We learned about the connection in beliefs. The Bahamian that we brought here to talk about it at the symposium, she was even shocked that we were doing Jonkonnu here in different parts of Africa, Ghana. They do their own little ritual. They have their own little celebration. But we was able to connect the dot because, again, the drumming, the bullhead, the cowbell, the djembe box, the goma box. All that's how we connect. And then when they got to play the drums and the sound, it was just so amazing. People were just coming from all over, and they just started drumming. And from when you look at it from Atlanta Ocean and compare it to going over to Ghana, before we went, I went to the Atlantic Ocean because I'm standing on this side of the ocean now. And then when we went to West Ghana, I'm on the other side of the ocean. And then we got to go into the Elamida Castle, where the door no return, where you're standing in that door and you can imagine these enslaved, didn't know what was happening, what was going on. They was captured, and now they get ready to be brought to a foreign country. And so, of course, their spirituality that they had is what kept them, insane. Coming here, they got to start all over. They don't know anybody. They didn't speak English, and so they have to learn another language. And it was just, when you, as key plays, and you hear those drums, that's a smoothing sound. And that's why I always say, that's why I like the part of being in Jonkonnu, and that's why I'm glad that I have been asked for 20 some years to organize this great performance that we do here at Tryon Palace.
Yes. And then when I went to Africa to, like I said, when I went there to participate or to see them drumming, it was an eye opener. It's like a different culture as far as drumming, and everything is, everybody's got their part in drumming. Everybody's got their beat, or they got their part that they do, and they stay in their zone or in their lane, but it all comes together. And that's what I learned, when I went there, the different beats and how each one had their place like an adult. It was sort of like growing into the drumming. And that's what I learned, like you don't just start off being the lead drummer. You got to grow your way into it. You got to learn each little significant part. It's like going to school with them. And then the dancers come in with the beat. And that's another thing too, as far as drumming and the dancing part of it. And then, when I play, when we got our dancers as well, they connect with the drum beat. And then if you are around, if you are there in the midst of all of that, you also feel that energy and that spirit, and it lifts you up, and you'll be out there dancing with them. That's the kind of drumming, or that's the kind of energy that you get when you come to the Jonkonnu event.
So I think if people want to dance and feel that spirit, they know where to go. Lauren put the website in the chat. So if anybody watching is interested in heading out to Tryon Palace this weekend, highly recommend. We'll have to make it out there. I wanted to ask a little bit about, wasn't thinking about it, but the language. And in the video that we showed, there was the instructor talking about the call and response and the words that she was using, Ashe, those. Can you talk about what language those are in and where it comes from and what it means?
Bonga Lafia.
Yes, that one.
Yeah. Yeah, in the Funga Alapia song, there's a Funga Alapia. It's like a welcoming, and it's the call and response. If you come to a Jonkonnu event, you hear our lead singer saying Funga Alapia Ashe Ashe, and then we say Funga Alapia Ashe Ashe. Some type of a French sound, isn't it?
Right. And then it comes back when you say Fanga Alafia, we welcome you.
That's right.
And then we repeat because it's another call response. Then they said Fanga Alafia, we welcome you.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a call and response song, and it is French. That's where most Africans came from, was in the French area of Africa.
Okay. So that's another cultural, when you're drawing the map around the coast of, the Atlantic Ocean, as you were talking about, it's another little dot to put on that cultural exchange.
And then also some of these songs are basically seller songs, enchanted songs that they sung during the time of sellers.
Yeah, you got, if you look at our costumes, they're more like seller suits or seller costumes, and you learn history along with it. You had, the people, the blacks that was sellers or assisted in ships movement, they were more freer than those that was land people. Sort of like they had an opportunity to make money, and you learn so much about history once you get into history. That's why I said it's just so good to start the process of knowing that, hey, stuff like this existed, and you find out there are other things that existed as well. You have captains that were black leaders, those who could sail ships and things like that. And so it's been quite a ride here. And then to have the seminar with all the history behind Jonkonnu, so much information, and learning so much about that. And here's the thing. I mean, if you notice around, Jonkonnu now is beginning to pop up in a lot of things now. I was surprised to see it on some TV shows, modern TV shows, and at one time I heard it as a child, but it was way back. I think it was Sean Connery on 007 where he said, I'm gonna go down to the Jonkonnu event. I think it was Goldfinger. I don't know if you remember anything like that. But I'm saying this thing goes way back. Other people was using the name Jonkonnu, but I didn't know. I don't know whoever else knew about it. And I don't know how long it's been going. So.
That's another thing where you say, where did the name come from? Because there's many different spellings of Jonkonnu. One being, we spell it Jonkonnu. Some people spell it Jonkonnu, Cooonering. Some spell it Jonkonnu, Junkanno. And then the other spelling is Jonkonnu. It's like a person's first name, John, and a boat. So when we started doing the research work, that's what popped up, was a houseboat of Jonkonnu. So there's so many different ways of saying it. Of course, if you're in Belize, they say it a different way. In the Bahamas, they say it a different way. So any of those Caribbean islands that you talk about it, Jonkonnu is spelled so many different ways, but it means the same.
That's interesting. You mentioned with the costumes and the connection to sailing and ships and sailors. And then with the spelling, with using the word canoe and perhaps there's a connection there as well too. That is really fascinating. I do want to remind our audience that if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We got one from Adriana. She asks, has there been research done about whether Jonkonnu was still celebrated in James City after emancipation? Do you guys know?
No, I do not know, but we do go to James City, which is not too far from here, because of the slave quarters that was there. I'm quite sure when the families did get together, they did do some kind of celebration and held their tradition. They blended Christmas tradition together during that time, because James City was the settlement, the Trent River settlement, which is not too far from us. So most of the people that came over from James City came across the little bridge here to New Bern. So they were connected there together. So I'm quite sure there was some.
Okay. And can you talk about, sorry, can you talk about how Jonkonnu changed after emancipation? And then you mentioned briefly the Wilmington coup and how it basically disappears after that. Can you talk about how that happened and how Jonkonnu really stopped being celebrated in the Black community?
Well, I would say just like, I mean, anything, you see where there's danger or a sense of being beat down or whatever, you can't really celebrate or have no type of energy for celebrating. They're in Wilmington, from what we understand, is that's where they had the racial war and a lot of conflict. And to get together as a crowd, it was maybe symbolized some kind of attack or something. So
Dangerous.
yeah, quite naturally, that would cause any event like that to not to want to band together under those types of situations. So usually something like that. And as far as why it didn't generate, that depends on probably the rebuilding of what was lost, or that the attitudes of those who had other things probably that
Or whoever was in office
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's got a lot.
I imagine it had a lot to do with the rise of Jim Crow, and
Oh, yes.
and then there were laws against groups
Exactly.
gathering,
Exactly.
and really an atmosphere of fear,
Yeah.
violence.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I think it's great that you guys brought it back. I didn't know that you brought it back more than 20 years ago, so that is really exciting. We are reaching the end of our time period, so if you have any last minute questions, please feel free to type them in. You can find both Sharon and Keith, or you can just give Tryon Palace a call or follow them if you have any questions about Jonkonnu. But I would love to ask both of you to say some final words. Tell us more about your program this weekend and how we can support your organization.
Yes. So we will be celebrating Jonkonnu this year. Due to the pandemic last year, we did not have it. So we're going to celebrate this year on a smaller scale. But please come and join us on December the 11th from 6 to 8. Or you can come join us on December the 18th, 6 o'clock and 18th, if you want to see Jonkonnu perform outside. You can go to our website, tryonpalace.org, and purchase a ticket for our candlelight event. Again, starts this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Also, come on out and hit the drums.
You can join in with us. We have extra costumes.
Yeah, join in with us, celebrate with us, and feel the energy of the Jonkonnu. See what it's all about, and just enjoy. And this will be a time to get out and get all the frustration of being locked in your houses, and just come out with us and just celebrate.
Awesome.
And if everything works out for us, we're planning our Jonkonnu workshop this summer, which will start the third Tuesday from 1 to 3. Every Tuesday up until August the 6th. And at the end of that workshop, we normally have a 2 o'clock performance with all the kids that participated, for their parents, grandparents, uncle, cousin, whoever, come out and see what they have learned over those 6 weeks of workshop. So come join us.
Awesome. Please, everybody, go check out Tryon Palace. You can sign up for their email list on their website. You can follow them on social media. Anything that we could do to support you, and we will be making the drive out in the future, I'm sure, or inviting you guys to come celebrate with us in the Piedmont. I'm not sure they celebrated Jonkonnu, but that's okay. It sounds fun.
We will celebrate it for you. Just call us.
Yes, we will. Thank you both again so much for joining us for this program. Thank you to everyone who was watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider supporting Tryon Palace and the Charlotte Museum of History so that we can continue to offer programs like this do great exhibits and events. Our mission to save and share history wouldn't be possible without you. We have an exciting 2022 planned, and I hope you'll stay in touch. You can follow us on social media. Just search Charlotte Museum of History. You can sign up for our email list if you're not already, and learn more about everything that we do at charlottemuseum.org. I hope everyone has a happy holiday. Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.